Congratulations! You're the parent of a teenager. While this might strike fear in the heart of many a parent, it can be helpful to remember that there's a lot going on with the architecture of your teen's brain during this important developmental stage. Their brains are literally under construction. According to Dr. Dan Siegel, in his book Brainstorm, which is an excellent resource for both teens and parents alike, a lot of what's going on in the brain has to do with the pruning of unused thinking and processing centers. At the same time, there's strengthening of other connections. In short, your teen's brain is becoming more efficient. We will go over a simplified explanation of the regions of the brain later in this video, but for now, it might be important to remember that this remodeling process starts in the rear of the brain and continues all the way up to the front, leaving the prefrontal cortex the last thing to be developed. Now, the prefrontal cortex is where decision-making takes place, the ability to plan, the ability to control impulses. Wait, the ability to control impulses. Does that sound a little bit like your teenager? While teens wait for their prefrontal cortex to be fully developed, they rely on their amygdala. Now, the amygdala is associated with impulses and emotions and instinctual behavior. Does that sound a little bit like your teenager, emotion-driven? Well, understanding some of the aspects of what your teen is navigating during this remodeling process might help you understand what they're going through as a parent. Let's explore some of those right now.
There are 4 cardinal qualities of adolescent brain growth. These 4 features are novelty seeking, social engagement, increased emotional intensity, and creative exploration. Each of these features of adolescent brain growth can have positives and negatives. How these years are navigated will have an impact on the rest of the person's life. Let's examine these 4 areas. Novelty seeking. Teenagers have an increased drive for rewards. Because of this, they have an increased motivation to try new things. The upside of this could be that your teenager will be more willing to try new things, be more open to change, and live life with passion and a sense of adventure. The downside is that they have a diminished sense of risk, and they might be impulsive, choosing to engage in thrill-seeking and risky behaviors without thinking about the risk. As parents, we can help encourage our teens in new activities while helping them weigh the risk of these activities. Social engagement. If you have a teenager, you know that friends are an important part of their lives. The upside of this increased social involvement is that teens learn to develop supportive relationships. The downside is that if they pull too far away from adult relationships, teens are more likely to engage in risky and impulsive behaviors. As parents, it is important to encourage the development of good peer relationships while still maintaining a relationship with your child. Increased emotional intensity. Parents of teenagers have experienced moments of intense emotion with their child. These can be frustrating and confusing for both parents and children. The upside of this intensity of emotion is that life can be filled with zest and vitality. The downside is that intense emotions can lead to moodiness and heightened reactivity. As parents, it is helpful to remember that intense emotions are part of adolescent development. When children are experiencing these emotions, parents can help by staying calm and not escalating with them. Creative exploration. The final feature of adolescent brain development is creative exploration. Teens start seeing the world in new ways. The upside of this is that the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The downside is that teens might experience a lack of direction or a crisis of identity. Parents can help their teens by listening to their ideas and allowing them to explore ideas while also helping them to maintain a sense of who they are.
I am going to share with you a simple way to help you better understand those strong emotional reactions you may experience with your teenager. Dr. Dan Siegel teaches us the hand model of the brain, a way to help us remember the structures of the brain and how they work. In this model, our wrist represents our brain stem. I like to refer to this as our body brain. It controls basic body functions such as making sure we are breathing and sleeping. Our palm represents the central part of our brain, the limbic area. It can be called our emotional brain. It is where we process our emotions and store our memories. It is also where our amygdala is, represented by our thumb. Our amygdala is our safety radar. It is like an alarm system that goes off when we experience danger. And finally, our fingers here represent our cortex, the outer layer of the brain. And our fingernails here are the very front of our cortex, called the prefrontal cortex. This is our thinking part of the brain. It is where we process information. It is how we understand other people. It is where we make our decisions. And it is also where we calm ourselves down. When we are feeling really stressed and overwhelmed, our prefrontal cortex shuts down and quits working with the other parts of our brain. You could say we flip our lid. The thinking part of our brain goes offline, and it becomes very hard to problem solve, process information, understand other people, and calm ourselves down. When this happens, when your teenager is really upset, it is important for you to remember that the thinking part of their brain is not working. And what they need from you in that moment is to give them the space to regather themselves and find their inner calm.